The reason I ran for a sabbatical position when I was a student here was mainly because I wanted to make a difference to the students. Through my time as a student, I had seen and interacted with the sabbatical officers from when I was a first year right through till third year. I saw the sort of work that they did, and I was really sort of interested in what they did and why they did what they did, and I wanted to know more as to how they made a difference for students. After speaking to them and finding out the things that they did with regards to try and fight for student rights and fight for what students wanted at the university, it got me really interested in wanting to make a difference for everyone that came here. Probably another bonus of that was my friend and housemate was also, at the time, was an executive officer. He worked on the council as a sports and recreations officer, and he developed sort of sporting ideas with the sabbaticals to try and get more people involved. Obviously it's changed since then, but it really got me sort of fired up as to try and make a difference for students. So when I was sort of making the decision of what to do when I finished, a few people were telling me sort of the gripes and issues that they had, and I felt that there was something that I might be able to bring to the sort of the fold to try and make it a bit better for students and sort of fight the cause. So that was one of the reasons that I ran. So when I firstly went for it and got it, they were the main reasons. And I ran for a second term basically because all the things that I'd started to put in place, I still felt that I still had a job to do to try and bring it to be a better point at the time where it was. So I re-ran just to try and bring all those issues and carry on and make them as good as they can be with the university. A bit of a weird year for me as a sabbatical officer. The year I ran, as part of sort of achieving the role as a sabbatical officer, you have to successfully pass your year of study. The year that I was elected, the president and the vice president of the Warrington campus at the time both failed, which left us in a bit of a void, as I was left as the acting president and acting vice president Warrington. So I was doing all three roles up until the end of October, beginning of November, until they were able to re-elect a new president and vice president Warrington. So sort of the roles that I would do normally as the vice president at the time was more academic wise. So I used to deal with academic appeals and academic malpractices for students. So if a student had failed a module for unknown reasons, mitigating circumstances and stuff like that, I would then deal with that to try and help them through the process of appealing the decision so that they could get another shot at doing their assignments. If they were pulled up for academic malpractice, such as plagiarising or collusion and things like that, I was there as a representative for the students to try and help them through the process and help them build a case that they could take to the university that would help them hopefully overcome the decisions that have been made and allow them to re-go for the module or have the mark overturned or the problem that they had faced overturned. But with respect to obviously me doing the other roles, I also had to sit on the board of governors. So I was part of the university top level at the time of the senior management team, overlooking obviously the day-to-day running of the university and putting in the students' feedback and opinion based upon what you guys gave me. So then I fed that back into the university council, so they would take that into consideration when they were making decisions as to regards to modules and things like that. One of the main things that happened when I was an officer, it used to be that you would do 2 semesters of 4 modules each, 4 different modules each semester. That was changed the year that I was vice president to doing the way that you do it now, which would be continuous over the whole year. So they really valued our opinions, so I would go out to the students and find out what they thought about the change to the module system, would feed that back into the university management team, and then they would take those suggestions on board. And then obviously when they made a decision, they'd already taken into consideration all of the thoughts of students. There was education boards that we sat on, just to give our views from a whole university standpoint, alcohol working groups and welfare groups, just to give our feedback to make sure that the voice of the students were being heard, so that they knew exactly what was going on from our perspective, and that they would take the views into consideration when making any decisions. They were the general sort of meeting side of things, but one of the things that we did from a students' union point of view is we would have weekly meetings with our executive team, just so that we would get messages out to students, to let them know exactly what was going on from the university side of things. We would also, which is quite weird, we would organise a summer ball as a sabbatical team. So every year the president and the vice president would organise their respective balls in each campus and advertise it and put the acts on. We would also actually put together your Freshers Week package in the summer before you started, which is obviously now transferred to the Ents team of the bar. So we would obviously try and make sure that you guys had as good a time as possible. One of the things I ended up doing as part of my sort of remit was I ended up becoming a DJ at the union. So I used to DJ on a Friday night, and sort of try and give you the best night possible, which then obviously led to where I am today. That's basically really sort of the main thing. We were just there to make sure that students got their voices heard in all of the meetings that we went to. From finishing obviously as an officer, I was undecided as what I was going to do. When I first came into the position, I'd had an idea of becoming a teacher. That was an idea that I wanted to sort of progress with. The way that things progressed, and obviously wanting to make sure I was earning money while I was making a decision, led me into DJing full time and working as a student promoter within the city for a local nightclub. So I ran for the next sort of year and a half student promotions night and DJ'd, and then later became a bar manager of the venue as well. In that time, I worked on the side. I worked for the students' union in the finance department, just to get an idea of that side of things and sort of keep my hand in sort of in an office type based environment, just in case that was something that I wanted to do. I was offered a full-time position in that role, but when I went to give my notice in at the bar, I was then offered a promotion at the bar because they wanted me to progress there. So looking at my future and where I wanted to be, I wanted to obviously progress as high as I could within what area I could. And at the time, people felt that my main sort of area where I seemed to excel was in the entertainment industry, where I was seen to put on good nights for people and give people a good time, and I ran the bars quite well. So I took the decision to take that on, and went through that side of things, progressed all the way through up into duty manager, which was the deputy assistant manager of the club. And then I had a bit of a crisis of conscience, felt that wasn't the way that I wanted to go with my life. I'd obviously done a degree in computer science. I'd totally ignored all of that when I became a sabbatical officer, and then just totally went in a totally different way to where I've ever been. I've always been an outward person, trying to make fun and have a good time. So that seemed like the best option at the time, but I really had a crisis of conscience at the time, and I left the industry to become an estate agent to try and do a 9-to-5 job. I did that for a while, and then I found the pull of the sort of student industry too hard to resist. I'd gone back to DJing, and then eventually I went back into student promotions again in another city. Did that for a while, and then made a decision after that time to go back into management of the bar side of things, and was offered a bar in town. So I took that on and worked there for a few years until I heard that this position had become available. And this was a bar that I'd always wanted to work at, from when I DJ'd here and when I was an officer here, and as a student, this was one of the places that I would always sort of gravitate to and want to work at. So when the job came up for here, I felt like I could really make a difference here. So I went for it, and I've been here nearly 2 years now, trying to make sure that everything is done to make sure that you all have a good time, and I think from my sort of angle now is progression wise, I want to progress to become a commercial services manager. So not just look at the bar side of things, but all commercial areas, to try and make sure that we bring in as much money as we can to make sure that students get the best available experience that they can, and also that the Students' Union gets as much money as they can to help you guys with campaigns and running the things that they do day to day to make sure that you have a better student life. Eventually I might want to leave the Students' Union industry and go into a fully commercialised sort of area, but then there is also the possibility of staying in the Students' Union and working my way up to a general manager of the Students' Union side, and also taking on the roles that I'd previously done as a sabbatical officer, and integrate that into sort of making the full experience for students, and running an effective Students' Union that will make sure that the whole experience for students is a good one. And that's basically about it, really. Sabbatical elections are nearly upon us. If you sort of want any sort of chance to have a chat with me and first hand to see what it was all about, please feel free to come and see me in the bar. Alternatively, there are officers obviously still in place upstairs, so go and see them, find out what exactly it's all about at the moment. Obviously the position's totally changed from when I was an officer, but if you want an idea of the experiences that you could have, then feel free to come and chat to me. But you've got Jono, Ethan and Jamie that will be able to give you a great bit of advice on what the roles entail, and even speak to the staff. The staff work in year out with all the officers, so they have a really good knowledge of what they're all about and what they do. Alternatively, if you're in the Warrington campus, go see Tom Little. Tom Little's really good. He's been doing the job there for 2 years now, and he'll be able to give you some really good sort of expertise on what to expect and what you can do as an officer.